So now that our React app is built and ready to go, let's explore a little bit about what we have. And I'm just going to cd playlist generator, like it tells us to right here. And we can see that it's initialized a repository for us. So we have 4 directories, a README file, which explains a lot about how Create React App works and some other cool stuff in there, how to run it. They recommend using Yarn. It's also built by Facebook, so is React. But NPM works just fine, so don't worry. It also gives us a package.json with a bunch of information about our application. And the source src directory is where all of the code that actually runs our application currently is living. So to see it in action, let's run yarn start, or let's stick with npm for the time being, npm start. And what that'll do is it'll run the React scripts.start, and it'll pull up our React app here. So this is our entire React application. Lives right here. You can see it in action. Looks good, right? It's this cool little logo. It says edit source app.js and save to reload, learn React. So let's just go ahead and do exactly that. Let's look at app.js in the source directory. And this is a component called app.js. And this is the core of what most React apps are made of. Now I'm going to edit this and say, let's learn React. And I'm going to save my file and go check out the browser again. And we can see that it is already updated. It's ready to go. The application is working as we expect it to. Now let's explore this a little bit so we can actually see what is making everything here appear on our screen. Because if you come from the land of index.html, style.css, script.js, this looks a lot more complicated. There's a lot more going on here. And that's sort of the case. But really there's 3 things happening here. The index.js file is the file that gets run when our application starts. And you can see it does a couple things here. It imports React from React, and we're using this import syntax here, which is the modern way to import things when you are compiling an application with Webpack. And a lot of that is, again, unimportant. Just know that if you want to import a module from the node modules directory, you can just do it like import the module from the module name. And then it's importing React DOM, which allows us to actually render the React application to the screen, as seen here. And it's importing a index.css file, which is right here. And you can see it has given us some free styles. And then it's importing this app directory, component. And this app component is what we just changed, which is also doing a little bit of importing itself. And it's also exporting itself. So export default is like module.exports in the node world. But again, this is the ES6 way to write that. Again, if this doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. It'll all feel a lot more familiar when we just start using it a bunch. So if this looks all foreign to you, don't freak out. The other thing that's happening here is once we actually want to make React create the application, it says it renders this like what sort of looks like HTML tags here, but with interesting names. And then it renders it to this document.getElementById root. Except there's no index.html file here. So where is this document.getElementById root coming from? And if you pop open this public directory, you'll actually see where that actually is. And you look at the index.html file there. This is the HTML file that is actually hosting the application. And so when we serve the React app, this is where it'll be rendered. And if you look, there are some interesting things going on here. We have title, React app, cool, and a div with the ID of root. And look, there's nothing inside it. You notice that? That is because React's entire job is to take all of the code you write here, bundle it up, and then serve it, render it inside of this root div here. And so that's all that's happening here. Index is taking your entire application, index.js file, bundling it up, and then inserting it into this root div. And that is what makes this application appear here. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on here, but we can actually get rid of most of this. So I'm just going to do some deleting really quickly. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to, the rest of that's fine. I'm going to save this, and my auto formatter will take care of some of that stuff, just the way I like it set up. I'm going to delete this report web vitals and set up tests because we're not going to be using them. There's some cool stuff in here, but it's unimportant for the time being. I'm going to delete them. I'm going to delete this app.test.js. Cool. And now my application looks a little bit smaller. Less stuff going on, which is nice. But that's it. Now we can actually start writing our React application by editing the files here and adding new ones, which we will do in the next